et Egypti and a papyrology, Cairo, containing portions of Genesis and of the second half of Deuteronomy according to the Septuagint. It is of the 1st century BCE and shows, in various places, the divine name written in square Hebrew characters within the Greek text. Fragments of Deuteronomy, chapters 23 to 28, are found in Ryland's Papyrus 3. 458 of the 2nd century BCE preserved in Manchester, England. Another leading manuscript of the Septuagint contains fragments of Jonah, Micah, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, and Zechariah. In O Textoi Acute Miritra Longo, manuscripts of the Bible 316 probably once had about 220 leaves. P45 has portions of the 4 Gospels in the Book of Acts. The Chestabeti Papyrus No. 3P47 is a fragmentary codex of Revelation containing 10 somewhat damaged leaves. These 2 papyri are believed to be from the 3rd century CE. Quite noteworthy is the Chestabeti Papyrus No. 2P46 believed to be from about 200 CE. It has 86 somewhat damaged leaves out of a codex that probably had 104 leaves originally, and it still contains 9 of Paul's inspired letters. Romans, Hebrews, 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, Ephesians, Galatians, Philippians, Colossians, and 1 Thessalonians. It is noteworthy that the letter to the Hebrews is included in this early codex. Since Hebrews does not give its writer's name, its composition by Paul has frequently been disputed. But this letter's inclusion in P46, evidently consisting of Paul's letters exclusively, indicates that in about 200 CE Hebrews was accepted by early Christians as an inspired writing of the Apostle Paul. The letter to the Ephesians appears in this codex, thus also refuting arguments that Paul did not write this letter. At the John Rylands Library, Manchester, England, there is a small papyrus fragment of John's Gospel, some verses of chapter 18 cataloged as Rylands Papyrus 457. It is internationally designated as P52. This is the oldest extant manuscript fragment of the Christian Greek scriptures, having been written in the first half of the 2nd century, possibly about 125 CE, and thus only a quarter of a century or so after John's death. The fact that a copy of John's Gospel was evidently circulating in Egypt, the place of the fragment's discovery by that time, shows that the good news according to John was really recorded in the 1st century CE and by John himself, not by some unknown writer well along in the 2nd century CE after John's death, as some critics once claimed. The most important addition to the collection of biblical papyri since the discovery of the Chestabeti Papyri was the acquisition of the Bodmer Papyri, published between 1956 and 1961. Particularly noteworthy are Papyrus Bodmer 2P66 and Papyrus Bodmer 14, 15P75, both written about 200 CE. Papyrus Bodmer 2 contains a large part of the Gospel of John, while Papyrus Bodmer 14, 15 has much of Luke and John and is textually very close to Vatican manuscript No. 1209. Vellum manuscripts. Bible manuscripts written on vellum sometimes include both the Hebrew and Christian Greek scripture portions of the Bible, though some are only of the Christian scriptures. Codex Bezae, designated by the letter D, is a valuable manuscript of the 5th century CE, though its actual place of origin is unknown. It was acquired in France in 1562. It contains the Gospels, the Book of Acts, and only a few other verses, and is an uncial manuscript, written in Greek on the left-hand pages, with a parallel Latin text appearing on the right-hand pages. This codex is preserved at Cambridge University in England, having been presented to that institution by Theodore Beza in 1581. Codex Claromontanus D2 is likewise written in Greek and Latin on opposite pages, Greek on the left and Latin on the right. It contains Paul's canonical letters, including Hebrews, and is considered to be of the 6th century. It was reportedly found in the monastery at Clermont, France, and was acquired by Theodore Beza, but it is now preserved at the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris. Among more recently discovered vellum manuscripts of the Christian Greek scriptures is Codex Washingtonianus I, containing the Gospels in Greek in the common Western order: Matthew, John, Luke, and Mark. It was obtained in 1906 in Egypt and is preserved at the Free Gallery of Art, Washington, D.C. The international symbol of this codex is W, and it is thought to have been written in the 5th century CEO Textoi Acute Miritra Longo. Manuscripts of the Bible 317, however, Vatican Library authorities made access to the manuscript extremely difficult for scholars and did not publish a full photographic facsimile of the entire codex until 1889 to 1890. Sinaitic manuscript. The Sinaitic manuscript Codex Sinaiticus is also of the 4th century CE, but Codex Vaticanus may be a little older. The Sinaitic manuscript is designated by the symbol Aleph, first letter in the Hebrew alphabet, and while it evidently once contained the entire Bible in Greek, part of the Hebrew scriptures has been lost. However, it has all the Christian Greek scriptures. Likely this codex originally consisted of 730 leaves, at least, though the whole or parts of just 393 are now verified to be extant. It was discovered one portion in 1844 and another in 1859 by the Bible scholar Constantin von Tischendorf at the monastery of St. Catherine at Mount Sinai. 43 leaves of this codex are kept in Leipzig, portions of 3 leaves are at St. Petersburg, Russia, and 347 leaves are preserved at the British Library in London. It has been reported that 8 to 14 more leaves were discovered in the same monastery